Hello everyone, Rachel here as always on a Thursday. I think I've got crooked shoulders, haven't I? Anyway, how are you all? Hello Carol, hello other Carol, and hello Linda. If you could just let me know if you can hear me and you can see me okay, and do give me a thumbs up and pop me a note in the comments so I know you are present with me. So, hello Trisha. Tonight we're going to be doing another tutorial on bead embroidery. So we're going to have a look at some different types of beads that we didn't work on last week. Size 15 seed beads. The higher the number, the smaller the bead. We're going to be looking at Delicas beads, which refers to the shape and the brand name. All good, and picture all good. Fantastic. Hello. Oh, I missed it. Hello, I think it was Francis. Hello Francis, and Happy New Year to you too. The comments suddenly shot up. Eyes and ears all fine. Fantastic. So we're looking at those different types of beads. We're looking at when would you use a size 12 beading needle? What is a size 12 beading needle? And I think it'll all become clear as we go. I've got some samples to show you at the start and some at the end. I don't want to bombard you with loads of different samples. So I thought what I'll do is I'll show you a couple to begin with. Then when we've finished, I'll show you some more complex ones that perhaps might give you a little bit of inspiration for ideas, or perhaps things that you're aiming to do as well. Good evening Nikki, good evening Meg. It's really annoying me the fact that I've got all creases in my top. Is that better? Oh, now I'm all wonky donkey. There we go. And I've got one of my favourite necklaces on. I'll do a close-up of that. You might need to remind me towards the end, which has got one of my buzzy bees that's available in kit form. That's on a brooch, and it's one of my flash labradorites as well, all bead embroidery. Hello Rosie. Right, should we go on the overhead? There we go. Let's move that round. Hopefully it's all set up. There we go. Right, let's show you some samples. So this is what we did last week. So we looked at using cabochons. We looked at the fact that E6000 glue really is much better. You can use a glue gun providing you're going to peyote it in. It's not sturdy enough on its own. So we looked at that. Size 10 seed beads. We looked at the backing. Mine was pretty dreadful, my cutting out on that one. So this week we are going to be looking at how do you get that pretty little decoration which is called peyote, and that's how you really give that cabochon. A cabochon, just in case you missed it, is actually a flat backed bead. Normally it's got a dome shape at the top. It doesn't have any holes, so you have to glue it in or do your peyote stitch, but I do both. I glue in and I peyote, which is this stitch here that we're going to look at. I do have a bundle of the Tree of Life as well. These all of these bits and pieces are all available online. And I'm going to show you something else in a second. Hello Samantha, it's good that you could join us again. You can also use this for things like rings as well. So this is one of the tiny teardrop cabochons, and that's done a peyote stitch around there and a peyote band. If you're not familiar with peyote, and it's a double Dutch word, you don't worry. There are lots of different ones, and we're just going to be looking at the one that hugs around the cabochon. Now I have already done a tutorial on this one, which basically shows you how you can link all of the different components up to make a bracelet. As you could see, I've still not got round to backing it. Hopefully that's not too close. That's another one as well, which leads me nicely onto this week's top bargain. It's going to be going back to full price on Sunday, but it's an ideal package for this tutorial for doing bead embroidery. The collection, it's a seed bead and accessory collection. It was £19.95 originally. It was reduced a little bit, but it's now less than half price, £7.95 or 45. So you get lots of different things in here, and this particular pendant I've actually used all of the beads, and I've only got 4 of them left in stock, so don't delay, and they will go back up in price at the weekend. So you've got size 10 seed beads, check ones. You've got these bouillion wires that you can see in here, which have got a hole in them, so you can cut it down and use them as beads. Some checkers of Akin beads, some little spacer beads that you can use to accentuate curves around beading. You've also got 3 different cabochons. One is this grey one is the white one that I'm working on, and the other is like a mauvey colour as well. Then you've got your size 15 seed beads, which are really quite small, but they are great for edging your peyote. Hello Wendy, Happy New Year to you too. And that's when you switch to a size 12 beading needle. Now quite often I find that the Toho will still fit your size 10 needle, but the Miyuki brands normally don't. It's a thinner hole, bit more difficult to thread the needle, but to look at it doesn't really look any different. And then you've got your Miyuki Delicas as well. Now Delicas are like, that's the brand name. Miyuki is the brand name, Delica is the shape, and they're like little tubes, and they produce this absolutely glorious sort of effect. So if you look in this one, can you see the one in the middle? This one here, the one that sparkles the most, those are Delicas, and they remind me of little building bricks. They just slot together so well. That's your bouillion wire, this one here, and the size 15s are the one in the middle, so they really get to pull in the cabochon at the end. So that is on special. Only for, you can either order them online or you can buy them in the group thread. The other one that's on special as well at the moment will go back up. I think these are £8. Some of you got even bigger bargain when I did my auction. These are available in 4, 5 different colourways, and it's a bead embroidery piece with all the chain and everything apart from the glue. Right, let's get stuck straight in, shall we? So I've used one of the cabochons. This is a porcelain cabochon. So as you can see, it's about the size of my nail. So it's probably maybe about 14 millimeters. Right, let's just have that down there so you can actually see. If you come in late to the party, you can see what we're doing. Now, just talking about different, now this has got my old website on, which shows how old it is. This is Fireline. This is one different type of thread. Now Fireline is a wonderful thread. It's the, if you say it's the equivalent of like your Marks and Spencers, you know, it's your more expensive brand. Beautiful quality. Sometimes when you're doing bead weaving projects it's a bit stiff, so I just thought I'd show you some of the different threads. Now I wouldn't go any lower than £6 because it'll be too light. This is one of my favourites, Miyuki thread. Comes in all different colours. KO is very similar as well. That's a special, these are all specialist threads that don't stretch. I'm using Nymo tonight, which is one of the cheaper brands, which I think is a fabulous all-rounder. The only thing with it, I'd suggest that you wax your thread either with candle wax, or you can see how well used mine is, or this is wax that you can also use in general sewing. You can get them from haberdashery shops, and run your thread along, and it stops or helps to stop the fraying and helps you to thread your needle. Okay, right, so now we've done that, let's get going. Don't want to bore the pants off you. I know when I watch videos I think, well, okay, just get on with it. Just get on with it. So let's get stuck straight in and we can chat. So let's talk some ideas as we're going. So if you see something that you think, I'd like to give that a go, then let's bounce ideas and share it. And there's no idea like a silly idea. Right, so we're going to knot the end. So I've cut just over 1 metre of thread, and I'm just threading that through several times to make a quadruple knot. Okay, so for those of you that joined us last week, we're going to be doing a bit of a recap on some of the bits and pieces. So we're going to come about 1 millimetre out from the side of the cabochon, and we're going to use some size 10 check seed beads. 11 is another popular one as well, which I find that I can't really easily get size 11s in check. Normally that's in the Miyuki brand or the Toho brand. So add in 4 beads, and then we're taking a nosedive at the end of the 4th bead. Can you just tell me if I'm so close that it's blurred? Do let me know. So turn your foundation. So if you missed it last week, this is a beading foundation. This is on special offer at the moment, and this is what we stitch directly onto. So it's a nice firm sort of piece that we keep it on, but we trim off the excess after. So I'm coming back up and I'm threading that needle through those 4 beads we just added. And let me just show you, it's a good idea to do this in daylight, but don't strain your eyes, use the tip of your needle like tiddlywinks to get those 4 beads on. Now it's really, really important when you are doing the next row, so which we call peyote, and it will all become clear once we do it, but on this particular one it's really important that you have an even number of beads. So we're coming up and we're pushing our needle through those 4. There is such thing as an odd count peyote, but the one we're doing today is with even seed beads. So I do hope it works. So we're going to hug round that cabochon, take a nosedive down, and at the back we back step into the previous stitch. Now if I've missed anything, if you're new to bead embroidery, or if you are doing bead embroidery already and you think I've missed something crucial, will you please pop me a little comment? But would love to know, what are you all up to at the moment? What projects are you working on at the moment? Are you beading or are you doing different crafts? So we're back stitching. And you notice as well, I've trimmed around the edges. I've made the edges circular because they have a tendency to catch on absolutely everything. So when you've done that, just pull it across just to get a nice bit of tension. And you will need a beading mat as well. Or if you haven't got a beading mat, then use a tea towel or something like that. But eventually a little beading mat is crucial, because you will literally be playing tiddlywinks with all of your beads. So we're back stepping into the previous one. And if you want to try a slightly different bead embroidery like the bee I'm wearing, then I've got pre-made kits that are on my website. Say pre-made kits. It's not the right word to use, is it? Kits, that's all I need to say, with full instructions and all your materials. Trisha is knitting a jumper and crocheting 2 temperature snakes. What are 2 temperature snakes? Sounds like you're busy. Right, this is where it gets interesting, because that to me looks like I need to fit 3 beads in there. But if I fit 3 beads in there, that's going to make me an odd number. So sometimes you have to fudge it a little bit. So I'm going to add 2. So Jane, hello Jane. Grandchildren leaving late today, but I'm here, better late than never. Well, Jane, you haven't missed much. We've only just started, really. And then what I'm going to do is reinforce. And reinforce basically means we're going to go back round the cabochon through all those beads. Now, is it our next row? Yep, in our next row, we're going to start introducing size 15 seed beads. Now, this is a size 12 beading needle, and if you look at the 2, you can just about see that one's got a slightly bigger eye. So that's the 10. That's the 12. So that's when, if you're having problems with your small beads getting in, then that's what you'd switch to. Now, the John James is a beautiful brand name for the size 12s. I think this one is a Miyuki. I don't think I'm going to need to switch to another needle. So that's another bonus of the Toho. So this is one of the other colours in that bundle that's on special. These are metallic amethyst. So as you can see, there's quite a difference between the size. So this is, so peyote, it originates from Native America, from Native American Indians, if that's politically correct. I never know what I'm allowed to say and what I'm not. But that is where it comes from, with all of their wonderful beadwork. And peyote stitch has got lots of different variations. This is just one of them. So I'm hoping that we're in close enough for you to see. And it creates almost like a tooth comb. So we've added our bead, and the reason why I'm using a size 15 is because with the circumference is coming in, so you want to make it tighter. So I'm coming out of this seed bead here, I'm adding a bead. Now my thread is here, skip the next bead and then go through the next one. And you might want to just bend it a little bit so it's easier to get through. And what I'd suggest you do is you keep those beads on the outside for now. Now I will read your other messages, but Carol says, does the same rule apply to needles as seed beads? The higher the number, the smaller. Yes, that's right. So we're adding a seed bead. So the seed bead is coming out of, well, the thread, sorry, is coming out of this one here. So we skip the next one and push our needle through the one after that. And take your time with it, because one of the worst things that can happen is that you do what's called splitting your thread, which means that you literally go in the middle of the thread and it just creates a bit of a mess. So we're coming out of this bead here with the thread, we skip the next one and go through the one after that. I think you've got the gist, so I'm going to carry on. hello Jackie, it's good to have you join. Jackie, we're just talking about what projects everybody's on, and when I finish this little row I'm going to go back and have a look what you're all up to. Now what I would suggest is that you don't pull it too tight at the moment, you know, just keep it, you don't want it too slack, but don't pull it taut until you do your next row. But can you see what I mean about little teeth? Now it looks messy at the moment. If yours looks like this and this round, messy is fine. It doesn't tidy up until the row after. Now at the moment I have been really enjoying myself. I've been actually doing designing some peyote for pen toppers for Valentine's Day. So I'm planning on doing some kits and some online workshops to show you how to read a peyote pattern and how to get the peyote going, and they're really nice small projects as well. They still take a bit of time, but they're not too overwhelming. So I've got one with hearts on, I've got another with a seahorse. So if that's your bag and you like the sound of it, do let me know so I can keep you updated. Right, so we're just coming to the end of that. So we're on the last one. So we're going to add a bead, go through the last bead, which will be sat right next to the first bead that you added, this one here. So you're going to actually step up into that one too. So let's just pop that to one side so you can all have a little look, and please feel free to ask me any questions. Meg is sewing bags, finishing a tapestry, started a sashiko project, stitching 1 square a day for a year. Would love to know more about that, and perhaps you could share a photograph in our Beaders of Beads by Virchil. Apologies if you haven't, I've missed it. Jane is knitting her usual post-Christmas baby blankets for Sans, my birthday present for our angel grandson. Oh, whoops. Let me just spread that out a little bit. Oh, that's better. I couldn't easily see your comments. Who would have been 10 at the end of the month? Oh. Right, okay, let's carry on then. So we're going to do another row of size 15 seed beads. Let's just get up close with that, and if you let me know if you can see everything okay. So this is where we start pulling it in. So we're adding another 15 bead, and we are just going through the next 15 bead that was added in the previous row. And now what you can do is you can pull that in. So pull that towards the centre. Don't go too mad though, because what will happen is if you pull it too tight, you'll start having gapping occurring at the bottom. So pop that through the next one in the row. So I've added a seed bead. Now obviously the amount of rows you need is going to depend on the depth of your cabochon and the effect that you want as well. Now you may find with a bigger cabochon you may require a couple of rounds of size 10 beads in peyote before you switch to the smaller ones. Okay, so we're going through the next one in the round, and it's always a really good idea, particularly when you're starting doing peyote, that you use different colours so that visually you can actually see what you're doing. You know, differentiate between the different beads. So the next one in the row. Rosie is still getting orders for gloves out. Oh, how lovely. And are you knitting or crocheting these, Rosie? Quite often we find that our January, February is colder than November, December, isn't it? Right, so as you can see, I'm only going through those beads that we added in the previous row. I'm not touching any of those silver beads. And as you can see, we're on to our last one now. Hello, Lydia. Good to have you join. So we're going through the final one. Now, a couple more things to note here. So as you can see, that has encased our cabochon. Now you could always do another row if you want to. Now if you were using Miyuki size 15, you may not be able to get the needle through to reinforce, but I know with the Toho I can. So I am going to reinforce and go back through all of those just to pull them a little bit tighter, get them a little bit neater. Now if you find that the thread is showing, you could always use a coloured Sharpie pen just to colour in, but just be so careful that you don't end up colouring the beads or the cabochon. It might be an idea to colour your thread beforehand, or get yourself a selection of different colours for your stash. Now that row was our peyote row. Okay, let's just circle that round so that you can see. Now if you find that these beads start popping up on the bottom, can you see that? What you could do is you could go back down and add another stitch in between. Now to go back down, I would normally just go down through the size 10 seed bead there at an angle and go to the back. So if you were wanting to put, you know, if you find that buckling is occurring, then what you could do is just put an additional couple of stitches in there, like so. Do a little bit of back stitching. You see what a difference that's made? So there you go. Let's build it up a little bit as well now. So let's have a look at Delicas. Let's just put some of these away. So we're getting in a bit of a mess. Now there's no right or wrong time to use these different beads, but I would say that the size 15 seed beads are crucial for at least the last row to 2 rows around your peyote cabochon. Right, so what Delicas did I get? Oh, well those are size 15s. Right, bear with, because I haven't got any Delicas out. That was a good shout, wasn't it? I got all size 15s. Sound is gone. You sure it's not because I've disappeared? Right, so these are Delicas and they're tubular as opposed to the rounded, sort of generally rounded shape of the others. So I'm going to make a stitch and actually show you how differently they are. So come out about 1 millimetre from the side, and I'm going to work in groups of 4, but it doesn't really matter. Well, it doesn't matter at all if you have an odd number this time. So I'm actually going to lay that around the previous row. So Rosie is mostly, right, which way is it? Mostly knitted, mixed fabric, yarn and crochet. How lovely. Well, I'm glad you got the sound too. That's good. I did go for a moment there, Carol. And there's something about the cut in the Miyuki Delicas that just makes a light glisten. Now there's something else to bear in mind, is there's another brand that is like Miyuki Delicas, and they are almost identical. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that, but they are. And they are made by the brand Toho, and they are called Toho Treasures. There's not really a great deal of difference in price, but I find that if you're doing a project with all Miyuki Delicas or mixing treasures, they really work well together. So Meg's project is from book of Sash Eco 365 by Susan Briscoe, who taught me how to do it originally many years ago. I will look that up. That sounds fascinating. As I mentioned last week, the lovely thing about doing the bead embroidery around a cabochon is you can have a really tiny cabochon. I mean, if you look at these two, the cabochon is the same, and you can just keep building it up. And with the different size seed beads as well, is you can get that sort of indentation, so you've got different heights, different textures in your bead embroidery as well. And I know for a lot of you, bead embroidery is one of your favourites. I have to say it's one of mine. I love anything jewellery, but I particularly like anything to do with needle and thread. So I'm still using the same technique, but can you see how that catches the light? The other thing to mention, I think I covered it last week, is when you're looking at seed beads and they've got different descriptions. So one says silver lined, one says opaque, one says inside lined. It literally is what it says on the tin. So if it's inside lined, it means that there's a colour lined inside the bead. So for example, that's inside line, this one. If it says that it's opaque, then normally opaque is like this one, which is a really intense colour, so you can't see through it. Silver lined is literally lined with silver, or it might be lined with a gold. Metallic is a finish like this, and different companies have different finishes on theirs as well. Like for example, Miyuki have the galvanized brands, which are quite expensive because the actual surface of it doesn't rub off. Right, so we're going to actually reinforce around that. But can anybody think of any other finishes on the beads as well? So you've got pearl as well, which again is a pearl finish. Trans, which is transparent, which means you can basically see all the way through the bead. So there's lots of things that you learn along the way that really helps your journey when you're ordering beads to know what finish you're going to be getting. There we go. Now I'm going to show you what sort of effect it makes by putting a row of 15 seed beads by the side of this so that you can see sort of the indentation on there. Frances said she got my sister a sash eco kit as she's been keen on everything Japanese, given that her son and his family live there. Wonderful. Right, okay, so that's that one. That's your Delicas. So I would say that has probably got, that's an inside lined finish in that one, so that's got a colour on the inside. Now let's use another one of the metallic amethyst size 15s. So let's do a row of those. Let's pop that to one side. But how many of you, when you're doing bead embroidery, you know, are you all comfortable with the peyote stitch, or has anybody got any questions or any tips that might help? So just using the same technique again there. But what I want to show you is just how you get a little bit more of an indentation by using a smaller bead next to obviously a different size bead. Now what I find here, can you see that there's a little bit of taut on that? Now if you were to go straight into another row, another 4, then that'd be a bit slack, so bring your thread round just to hook it up a little bit. What we're going to do after this is we're going to look at another thing that is in that bundle, and that is this bouillion wire here. It's also, the bouillion wire is also used in gold work as well. Trisha says she always forgets to do how to do the edging and must find the video again. Yes, I'm pretty sure that's on YouTube, Trisha. Now I think I've got over 80 videos, if I've got that correct, on my YouTube channel, so please make sure that you use those resources. I will upload this, it'll probably be at the weekend because I'm not here tomorrow. I will upload it onto YouTube. It will be unedited, but obviously you can fast forward, you can watch this on rewind, but I think it's much better to have it on YouTube. If you could subscribe to my channel, that would be wonderful, because it actually helps with the algorithms for me, and when I reach a certain amount you can actually start earning something from them, but you have to really I mean, some of my old ones, I think I had about 37,000 views or something like that, but I deleted that because it was so old, and you think, it's a bit cringe. I might have a lot of views, but that's a lot of views that have seen something that's very old that you've come a long way with. So yeah, and even better if you can leave me a comment as well if you like the video, that would be fabulous. Wonder if I've still got the very first bead embroidery pendant I did was at one of the bead shows. I did a workshop, and I'm just trying to think which race course it was at. Sandown, that was it. That was the first bit of bead embroidery I ever did, and I've still got it. It looks very dusty, and that was the first time I embraced it, and I was just like, oh, I am loving this. And the kit that I used was actually just an acrylic cabochon, which, to be honest, the acrylic cabochons are just as beautiful nowadays. But for those of you that have done bead embroidery before, is it helpful sort of redoing these? Does it give you a little bit of inspiration? Does it help as a refresher for you? Now, we did have a bit of a giggle in the one for this one. I wonder who remembers. Oh dear. I'm not going to comment until I see if anybody else recalls it first. But to me, it did not look like a pendant. Hello, Dot. Dot's just joined. That's okay, but looking good. That's good. So it doesn't matter if you use an even or an odd number on this row, because it is you're not doing peyote. But another top tip is don't overfill it. You know, if you overfill, that's kind of borderline overfill. If you overfill it, it starts getting buckled. Now, I have to confess, I don't think this is one of my neatest, but I just think it's not, it doesn't matter. I mean, you're building up your rows anyway. Carol said I make peyote look so straightforward. She will give it a go again. Well, I'm glad it looks straightforward. It's just having good lighting as well, Carol. Having good lighting, having beads that you feel comfortable working with, i.e., you know, if they're too small for you. Work with bigger beads first if you want to just practice. I'm having a moment, can't get my needle through, which again is not a bad thing, because you can see we all have that. What is the matter with me? There we go. So I'm reinforcing. Yes, it was a nipple tassel. Right, if ever anybody else has just read nipple tassel, right, look at that. But the thing is, the one that I demonstrated on was pink, and it was a little pink innard, and honestly it was, you know, I thought I could go into a new range. Oh dear. It was only when I actually looked up and saw it on the screen and I thought, oh, that really was not, that was not the look I was going for. Right, there we go. I remember, and everyone else said exactly what they looked like. It was, wasn't it? It was definitely a nipple moment. Jane says she's always buying things and adding them to the stash. Watching this has made me want to get my box of cabs out and give it another go. Brilliant. Right, shall we? Let's have a look at some bouillion wire, because we've still got 15 minutes. Now, if you do get one of these bundles, you've got these bouillion wires in 3 different colours available. Now, let me take my necklace off, because I think I've got one with bouillion wire. Yes, I have. Right. Hello, Francis. Oh my goodness, Francis just joined at the nipple moment. And you just woke up. I bet that woke you up. Right, so on my little buzzy bee, that is that bouillion wire, which is this, cut up and stitched into smaller pieces. This is also bouillion wire round here, and when Trisha was talking about edging your piece, that is edged. It's one of my favourite pieces. I do love that. Right, I'm just going to put that back on. So if you want to add it like this, then you can just, don't stretch it. Whatever you do, don't stretch it, because you won't be able to use it. So just give yourself a little bit extra. Don't do as I'm doing and use it with your best scissors. Use your cheap and chip scissors, okay? Now, the only thing with this bouillion wire is sometimes it's really, really easy to split your thread with it. So use it as a bead. I'm going to come up at the side, and then I am going to go, so there's a hole through the centre of it, and I'm just going to go a little bit away along, and then I'm going to come out at the side and I'm going to anchor it. Like so. And then you can either come out before or after. So just come out, bring your needle out at an angle, and then push your needle back through. So you just find a little opening, and do the same again. Shimmy that along, okay? So like I say, use it as a bead. I'm going to take a nosedive down and anchor that on. Get a little bit closer. It's such a clever little thing. And then, like I say, you can either bring your needle out a little bit further along, or you can bring it back a little bit, whatever you prefer. Come in at an angle. Now it might be easier with a finer needle. And when you're actually stitching it, bring it at an angle so that it's going closer in. Right, okay, have I missed where to get the wire? So the bouillion wire, Rosie, is actually in that kit that's on special, or the accessories bundle. It's called Honey and Blossom. You've got 3 lots of it. If anybody does want any and they didn't want to buy the bundle, I actually have silver in stock at the moment. So just message me if you could send me a message on Messenger. It's not really that fiddly, it's just taking your time with it. No worries, Nikki, thank you for joining, hope you enjoyed. And it's super quick as well, Samantha, it really is. So just pop it at an angle, just persevere. And take a nosedive down. Okay, so not too much left to do now. There we go. How are we doing for time? 52. Right, when you come to the last little bit, I'm just going to trim it now so that I know roughly where it finishes, or where's the right place for it to finish. But it's just such a clever little thing. Do you know you could use this on memory wire as well? You know, you could use it, you could cut it down and use them as beads. Just be careful because sometimes it's not quite as nice against the skin. And then I'm just going to pop a final, just going to join those two together if I can. Easier said than done. You don't need to, but I just thought, oh, that might look better. There we go. But doesn't that look so effective? Right, the other thing, so what you can also do on this as well is you can cut them into little pieces like so, and you could stitch them, so you could put your needle through them, and that's how, and put them at different angles, and that's how I created the effects on the wings. Okay, so I wouldn't finish off on a bouillion, i.e. I would do another row as well. So let's get a silver row. How are we doing? We've got 5 minutes, so we'll just do a little bit of this and then I'm going to show you some samples of some of my favourite bead embroidery pieces. Trisha, yes, I am at summer school in Marlborough College this year. Sorry to you've decided not to go, but I understand because it's quite a long way for you, isn't it? Summer school, for those of you that have not come across it before, is a beautiful, beautiful place. It's where Kate, who was, i.e. Prince William and Kate, when she was in Middleton, that's where she went to school, was at Marlborough College, which is just down the road from me. And the private school closes for summer and it becomes a summer school, which is where I teach. So I teach, I'm just trying to think, I've got 3 classes this year. So I've got 2 half days of 2 part-time weeks of teaching teenagers, and also a week of teaching adults as well. Right, I'm going to leave it at that because I just want to actually show you some samples as well, but you get the gist. Okay, so if you missed how to cut out and glue the back, then watch the previous tutorial, that's on YouTube. But let me know your thoughts on that. Now I'm just going to actually scan out a little bit so that you can see. Right, where's my zoomy button? Right, there we go. Oh, not quite sure why we're blipping. Right. Now the beading foundation, it's only on it's on special offer just for a few more days anyway, and you can actually draw things on it to stitch with bead embroidery. So that's one of my favourites. I do love that. I have to confess, that one I actually took inspiration from a pattern. I can't think what it was. I think it was an embroidery book, not a bead embroidery, just an embroidery book. So I actually did all the designing on that one, but the picture gave me the inspiration. Now we've also, so today we looked at doing peyote. So this is it's a coin pearl, a freshwater pearl. It's quite expensive actually. Even wholesale it was really expensive. And you can see that I've done peyote around that, so you can see the little tiny size 15s there. You can see I've done more rows because it's a bigger cabochon. You can see the Delicas in there, the shiny ones. And then what I did was I stitched on freshwater pearls. I did a two drop is like peyote, but 2 beads at a time, and then I stitched freshwater pearls on the top. So that's one of my favourites that I wear. This is another one of my favourites that I interchange with my sterling silver pendant. So that's a ruby and zoisite. Oh, I just love that, ruby and zoisite cabochon. And these are all size 10 check seed beads, but I've got some size 15s that I've edged, so I've actually peyoted around that, and that's a special little stitch that I've done as well around that. Isn't that lush? I just love it. And then I've done all the tassels on there as well. The peacock bead embroidery that I've done, the kit, has got very, very similar technique to these with the bottom. Love that. This is the last one for show and tell. I love this. This is an opalite cabochon. I haven't actually backed it yet, but it's good that I haven't, because now you can also buy coloured foundation as well. I think it's Beadsmith that do the coloured foundation. I do have some in stock, funnily enough. I ought to put that online. So if anyone's interested, let me know. But what the blue has done, instead of having the white background, the blue has actually made the colour pop. So it's changed the colour of the cabochon. So instead of making it sort of a milky white, it's made it a blue colour. So what I've done on that one is I haven't used any 15s actually around the peyote. But you can see that I've made a deeper peyote, and what I've also done is I've actually done a row on top of gemstone chips. So there's all stitching underneath that, but I've actually used the same method as doing 4 at a time, back stitching, going through another 4 as before. So you know, hopefully that has given you some inspiration. And obviously before we go, we're just over time, aren't we? Let me take this off to show you. Now, my Buzzy Bees are my best-selling bead embroidery kits. I can't actually take it off, but that is in a kit form in the mini bee and the large bee, and it's a really nice, it's quite, as you can see, it's quite a small project, and it is actually, as you can see, it's actually on a brooch, so it's actually a separate pattern. It's not actually part of the necklace. I think I'm just going to leave it as is though, because I might ruin it, and I love it as it is. So if you're looking for a little bit of inspiration to do a pattern, there's really, honestly, there's nothing different in any of the little animal kits that I do. All of the basics that we've learned today form the crux of all of the bead embroidery kits that I've got. So do hop on over beadsbyvachille.co.uk. There's quite a lot in the sale at the moment. I don't think there's many bead embroidery kits in the sale, but obviously the one I mentioned to you, one of the beginners ones, only £8.95. That is in 5 different colours. That's a lovely little starter kit, that one is as well, and you've even got the chain in there. Oh, you're liking that? I thought it would give you a little bit of inspiration. Those are my favourite necklaces, and you can go really bold. The other thing you could do as well, which I'd love to do a kit and a workshop on, is how to make those fabulous collars as well. So it's like a big piece. You've got a nice little cabochon in the middle. So if that's something you like the sound of, or if there's anything at all that you're drawn to, you'd like a kit for, will you let me know? That would be wonderful. Hello Maxine, don't worry. Absolutely, you can catch up on replay later. Anyway, I've taken up enough of your time. Thank you for staying with me, and if I don't see you before, I'll see you on Sunday. But do have a look on the website, have a look through the Facebook group as well, and don't forget that there's only, I think there's 4 of those left, and I've used a lot of the materials from the accessory kit, and they're less than half price. Anyway, take care, and don't forget to post your makes. Bye.